Hello everyone, Steven here from Redolessence, and welcome back to another review. I have a special one for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Today I'm actually going to be reviewing the winner of my most recent subscriber's choice, and the fragrance that you guys picked is one from the House of Creed, and the fragrance is called Royal English Leather. So here's the bottle. This is a fragrance that was actually composed by the very first generation of Creed, which was James Henry Creed, and this was composed originally back in 1781, and then it was eventually recreated by sixth generation Olivier Creed in the 1900s. So this is the very first fragrance that was ever made by Creed. However, this is the, I guess you could say, the reformulated version, the version that was recreated by sixth generation Olivier Creed. So whether he has the formula that was originally used back then, or he redid it from rumors, or what he remembered it being, smelling like, whatever the case may be, this is the newer version. So in no way am I saying I have a 200-year-old bottle in front of me or anything like that. But like I said, this fragrance was originally released in 1781, and the company Creed started off 21 years before that. So the company Creed started in 1760, and from what Creed says by the history of the company is they started off as a tailoring company, and they used to tailor the clothes of famous individuals, namely kings and queens and princes. And in 1781, they were commissioned by King George III, who is the king and ruler, or was the king and ruler of Great Britain and Ireland, to create leather gloves for him and his entire court. So James Henry Creed created these gloves, but he also scented them with a scent that smelled very similar to this, until King George III loved the smell so much that he commissioned James Henry Creed to create his own personal perfume that smelled like the gloves. And that's how Royal English Leather came about. Now, of course, the fragrance was recreated in the 1900s, and it is currently vaulted. Now, what that means is that from time to time, Creed will actually put certain fragrances away into a quote-unquote figurative vault, and that you cannot purchase them anymore, that they've essentially become history of the brand. Eventually, fragrances do get re-released into the general public, fragrances like Windsor, but the reason that they will vault a fragrance is because either the IFRA has made certain restrictions that will not allow them to make the same fragrance again, either because of a scarcity of raw materials that prevent them from selling the fragrance at a good price, that now require them to sell it at an exorbitantly high price, or either because it maybe wasn't selling too well, so they decided to vault it. So this is one of those fragrances, and we'll go ahead and talk about maybe what the reasons might be for that later on. But I would also like to mention that this is marketed as a unisex scent. So with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at the presentation for Royal English Leather by Creed. So let us go ahead and take a look at the presentation for Royal English Leather. I would like to start off by showing you guys the box. And as far as the box for this fragrance goes, it actually looks very different from more contemporary Creed boxes. The very first concern that I actually had about this fragrance initially was that I thought it was a fake fragrance. I thought I had gotten my hands on a fake box. As you can tell, the crest is kind of indented. It lacks the detail that the more recent Creed fragrances have. This one is eau de toilette concentration. I remember hearing in a video recently that all Creeds are eau de parfum, so that was a red flag for me. And also, it doesn't have a serial number or a sticker down at the bottom. You do have information on the back, but other than that, my initial concern is that I had gotten myself a fake fragrance until I came in contact with somebody online who had a bottle of Acier aluminum, and they also bought it a very long time ago from a reputable dealer, and they said that their box looked nearly identical to mine in terms of the detail of the information, like the crest and the writing and everything like that. So that of course alleviated my concerns, and then I also had this one validated online by a few individuals who are very much connoisseurs of Creed, and they said that their boxes also looked very, very similar to this one. So I'm very happy to announce that this is indeed an authentic Creed, despite the fact that the box looks a little bit different. I also have to add to that that from what I've been hearing online, especially in more recent videos by Max 40 and Fragrance Fanatic 1, that Creed is kind of changing their packages from time to time, and being that this is the very first fragrance that they've ever released, you can expect for there to be some differences, and I think they also do it to detract or deter people from buying fragrances from non-reputable sources, if you will. So this is a bottle for Royal English Leather. You have the Creed logo here in the front. Nowhere does it bear the name of the fragrance except for a sticker on the very bottom. I remember when I used to go to the Creed boutique, they have the sticker right here in the front. There is no serial number on this one, just like there's no serial number on the box. Here's the cap comes off. You have Creed engraved into the atomizer. I took this off and there is a white ring on the inside, which also validates that it's an authentic Creed inside of the cap. The atomizer for this one, I'm not going to waste any, but it's the best in the game. The distribution is excellent. So that's it for the bottle. And of course, when you do buy a Creed fragrance, on the inside they will give you one of these cards that say Creed from father to son since 1760, and they have first generation James Henry Creed and sixth generation Olivier Creed. And then it also comes with one of these papers that bears information about the Creed house in 4 different languages. And also keep in mind that there are also international variations of Creed fragrances out there on the market. So if your box looks a little bit different, or if the serial number is located in the middle of the back of the bottle instead of the rim, don't automatically think that you have a fake fragrance. You may just have an international variation. So that was the presentation for Royal English Leather by Creed. My good friend Nobar says, Royal English Leather has a simple, refined, somewhat sweet leather scent. There is a good deal of ambergris and sandalwood as well. I believe it has some orange in it too. So I would like to start off this segment of the review by saying that this is a very true to form fragrance. I think as far as the note breakdown goes, it is very honest and very transparent, and that's one thing that most Creeds are pretty well known for, their honesty in the note breakdown, that you could just look at the notes and then you smell the fragrance and you can almost pinpoint and identify each individual note because of how clear it comes out and because of how natural it smells. I think as far as this fragrance goes, the only note that I don't really entirely pick up on is a note of bergamot, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. So what you get from this fragrance, just like the name implies, Royal English Leather, it does have a leathery nuance to it, and when you first spray it, that's the first thing you're going to notice about this fragrance, despite the low volatility of the leather note. Now, the only comment that I want to make when it comes to that leather is that it doesn't necessarily smell like a more contemporary leather, like a leather boot or a leather wallet or anything like that. In this fragrance, it has more of an animalic nuance. If you've ever smelled any fragrance that contains civet or castoreum, civet is an ingredient that's extracted from the glands of the civet cat. That's kind of what it smells like in this fragrance. It has more of an animalic nuance, and even though leather, in the true sense of the word, is an animalic ingredient, for me it smells more of like a kind of like a dirty, raunchy, animalic leather, if you will. Now, I'm not saying that the fragrance smells dirty or raunchy, because I think they did something very clever and in this fragrance, which is they used the note of mandarin orange to add this nice, appealing, acceptable quality to the scent. And of course, orange will brighten up any composition, I think. So when they added mandarin orange in the top of this fragrance, it creates this welcoming aspect to it, where you smell it initially and it serves to kind of clean up that dirtiness from the animalic nuance, make it more agreeable in a sense. And there's also a little bit of bergamot in here. It's listed as a note. I don't really get too much of it. Bergamot, if I may use this word, has more of like a generic citrus quality. There's really nothing generic about this scent. I think this is actually what you get in terms of the honesty of the note breakdown. It's actually a really nice scent. So you open up with this leather and this orangey quality, and then you have this creamy woodsy base attributed to the note of sandalwood. And the sandalwood that they use in this fragrance, I have to admit, is actually very, very nice. And I think it's one of the reasons why this fragrance lasts a very long time. I get 12 plus hours on my skin, and it will stay on after a shower. So what I can say is that in terms of longevity, the longevity is actually spectacular in this fragrance. Now, this fragrance also contains a note by the name of ambergris, and ambergris is another animalic note, and it's a fragrance, it's a note that I think is used in somewhere like 90% of all Creeds. It's part of the Creed DNA, if you will, and ambergris is this dark, opaque, charcoal colored matter that is found in the digestive tract of sperm whales. Some people say that the sperm whales vomit it and that it's found floating in the sea. Some people say it's excreted. you know, and it's also found floated in the sea. And a single gram of ambergris, I think, sells for $1,000, a single gram. So it's a very expensive ingredient, and I smell it in fragrances like Millesime Imperial. It kind of has like this salty, aquatic, animalic, staticky kind of a smell in the base, and I kind of get a little bit of that in here too, but again, I think it's compounded by the leather, you know, so you have these two animalic nuances, but certainly that leather quality is much stronger in this scent than any of the other notes that it bears or possesses. Overall, what I can say about this scent is that it's a nice scent. It's a very different scent from the House of Creed, but it has a mature feel to it. If you saved up a lot of money and you want to buy an exclusive perfume for yourself and you want to smell different and you're considering a purchase from the House of Creed and you want to go all out, despite the price, I think that this is not a fragrance you should buy. I think this is more of a collector's item. It's more of a conversation piece. If you're like a true collector and you really want to add this to your collection, then maybe look into it. But first, see if you like the smell, you know, and see if it really warrants a purchase in your eyes. I think all of the choices behind me are far greater alternatives to a purchase that one could make from the House of Creed, whether it be Green Irish Tweed, Virgin Island Water, Aventus, Tabarone, whatever the case may be. If you're looking for something a little bit more wearable, definitely more wearable, more contemporary, all of those are far better choices in my humble opinion. But if you're looking for something to add to your collection just as a conversation piece, then this is arguably one of the best that you could buy. But I will agree with some people who say that this is a fragrance that was created in the past and it should have been left in the past. The only reason I say that is because I don't see a lot of people wearing this fragrance in today's society, although it does have a remarkable aura about it, and you smell it and you are kind of brought back in your imagination to that time in the past. So for that reason, I actually like this fragrance a lot. But would I wear this? No, not just because it's vaulted and because it's hard to come by, but also because I don't think other people would appreciate the smell. So guys, I'm going to conclude this smell with that being said. Next up we have the rating. Thanks for watching. First up we have uniqueness and overall smell, and I ended up giving Royal English Leather by Creed a 6 out of 10. Now, I think that this is a really nice scent for its time. I think that there are a lot of fragrances being released in today's society that bear similarities to these. Even online when I did my research, I noticed that there were many comparisons being made to this fragrance. I think that this one is the most natural smelling of the bunch, so for that reason, I actually do appreciate the smell and what it's capable of doing. I also acknowledge and recognize that fixatives were used very successfully, notes like sandalwood and ambergris, which are the reason why this fragrance lasts as long as it does. So I have a ton of respect for the fragrance, but as far as practical wearability is concerned, I don't think this one would do very well in public, so I ended up giving it a 6 out of 10. Next up we have longevity. This is undoubtedly a 10 out of 10. This lasts 12 plus hours on your skin. You do have to shower in order to get rid of this one. Projection, on the other hand, some people have experienced various outcomes in terms of projection, but I also gave this one a 10 out of 10. This will fill up an entire room. It will envelop your presence whenever you wear it, and I think as far as this fragrance, it might not be the best to over apply because, again, I don't know how other people are going to perceive this smell. I don't know how they're going to appreciate the smell, or even if they will appreciate it. So I would probably limit application 1 to 2 sprays. Even 3 might be a bit of a stretch. As far as versatility goes, I had to give this one a 5 out of 10. Now, it is marketed as a unisex scent. I can kind of see this one being a unisex scent because of the leather and the orange. I think those, for the most part, are pretty androgynous and unisex ingredients. As far as age range goes, it's really more of a mature gentleman. Definitely not a teenager. I don't even think a teenager could afford this one. And definitely not even somebody in their 20s or 30s. Someone upwards of like 70s and 80s. I think this one would do really well for. But I think that's the type of individual who would also have a greater appreciation for the scent. As far as seasons go, despite the fact that it's eau de toilette concentration, I think in terms of compositional nature, this would actually do much better in the colder months, but also in terms of performance, this would do best in the colder months. So spring and summer would be overkill, and again, you would definitely not wear this casually because of its high price value and discontinuation. I would not wear this on the night out because I would not get the desired effects. And I wouldn't wear this one semi-formally. On a very rare occasion might I see myself wearing this one formally. And then last up in in terms of presentation. I think as far as the Creed goes, the Royal exclusives have a really nice presentation. I think that Aventus has a really nice presentation in terms of the box and the bottle. This one, I ended up giving it a 7 out of 10 in terms of presentation. And overall, I'm going to give Royal English Leather by Creed a 6 out of 10. Now, I think that this is a nice scent. I think that for its time, it was probably a great scent. I think in today's society, in contemporary modern society, there are plenty other fragrances that I would rather reach for on a regular wearing basis. I think this one is more of a conversation piece and more of a collector's item, but for that reason, and this is an understatement to say, I am very happy to have it in my collection. So there you have it, guys. That was my review of Royal English Leather by Creed. If you own or have tried this fragrance, please let me know what you think by leaving a comment down below. Also, please don't forget to rate and subscribe for future videos. So again, everyone, thank you so much for watching and voting. This has been Steven with another fragrance review from Redolessence. I'll see you guys soon.